An FBI agent steps into court holding up a red suitcase like it's a prop from a bad gangster movie. Inside, a loaded .45 caliber handgun. But let's be clear, that's just the appetizer. Because under Diddy's glittering Miami mansion, the feds didn't just find weapons. They uncovered 9 jaw-dropping secrets buried in his underground tunnels. And number 4? Oh, that one made even the stone-faced jury gasp out loud. When celebrity power meets federal raids, you're not just watching a downfall. You're watching the collapse of an empire built on excess, secrecy, and unchecked control. Welcome to Chatterfuse, where we don't just report the headlines. We pull apart the strings behind them. So hit subscribe because you won't want to miss what the FBI dragged into the light. And trust me, this scandal's only just getting started. The courtroom sits on edge, the kind of stillness you only get when people are holding their breath. And not because they're waiting for a headline, but because they're watching history crack open right in front of them. On March 2024's cool Miami morning, it wasn't a handful of feds tapping politely on Diddy's front door. No. Homeland Security rolled in like they were storming a cartel compound. 80 to 90 agents, armored, tactical, sweeping the waterfront by land and sea. Picture it, sleek black boats slicing through the marina, agents fanning out across manicured lawns, scaling stone walls, battering down gates. This wasn't just a search, this was a message. No one's untouchable, not even Diddy. And here's the kicker. What they found inside wasn't some chaotic celebrity mansion. It wasn't a mess of scattered party leftovers or casually stashed vices. No, what they uncovered behind those walls was methodical, curated, engineered. As agents pushed deeper, through main rooms, guest houses, closets, and eventually those infamous underground tunnels, they peeled back layer after layer of controlled secrecy. The prosecution's faces turned pale as evidence rolled in. Even seasoned legal experts were blindsided, because behind every velvet rope and locked door, the agents weren't just finding weapons or drugs. They were stepping into a system, a network, one that had quietly operated for years under the glittering surface of celebrity excess. And just when they thought they'd seen it all, they cracked open the next room. And what they found there, well, even the prosecution hadn't been ready for that. Agents moved through the tunnels with practiced precision until they hit a locked compartment. What they cracked open wasn't a vault of cash or a stash of jewelry. It was 2 AR-15 rifles, deliberately disassembled, their parts neatly separated across the room. But here's the part that jolted the room. Each rifle was fully loaded. Magazines packed, safety mechanisms intact, ready to be snapped back together at a moment's notice. Now sure, gun ownership in Florida? Not illegal. But these weren't just any guns. Both rifles had their serial numbers scratched off, a federal offense that screams illegal acquisition, criminal concealment, or worse. It's the kind of detail prosecutors dream of, and defense attorneys dread because it signals not just possession, but intention. What was Diddy preparing for? Who was he protecting himself from? Or was this a case of keeping weapons ready for others? People who might need them, quickly, no questions asked. But here's the truth. The rifles were just the opening act, because the deeper the agents went, the more they realized this wasn't just about weapons. It was about control. And what they uncovered next? It shifted the entire mood of the investigation. Stacked neatly in the back of a hidden closet, agents found something that, at first glance, looked harmless. 12 pairs of towering 7-inch platform heels, pristine, unworn. Not a scuff, not a crease, not a single mark on the soles. But these weren't trophies or fashion statements. These shoes matched the exact description Cassie had given under oath. The heels she'd been forced to wear during what she called freak-offs, drug-fueled encounters she said she was coerced into as part of Diddy's inner circle. Suddenly, those glittering stilettos weren't just accessories. They were props in a system of dominance, a chilling reminder of how luxury can be twisted into control. The courtroom sat stiff, eyes darting between the photos and Cassie's seat. Because when agents pulled out those heels, they weren't just unpacking shoes. They were unpacking years of silent stories, whispered accusations, and the material proof that backed them up. But even with all this laid bare, no one in the room was ready for what came next. Because inside a pair of Balenciaga boots, they found something that cracked the case wide open. And here's where the investigation turned from unsettling to outright sinister. Inside a pair of luxury Balenciaga boots, agents discovered something no one expected. 3 hidden phones. Burner devices, carefully tucked away, powered down, and completely detached from Diddy's main communication networks. And if that wasn't enough, a 4th burner was found stashed in a nearby bedroom, hidden behind a nightstand. The moment these details hit the courtroom, you could feel the air change. Audible gasps rippled through the seats. Jurors leaned forward. Reporters' pens froze mid-scribble. Because suddenly, this wasn't just about private indulgence or personal protection. This was about covert coordination, secret deals, hidden messages, and possibly the kind of blackmail machinery that only operates at the highest levels of celebrity and power. Why hide 4 burner phones in separate rooms? What messages were sent on those lines? And more importantly, who was on the other end? If you think this is dark, just wait until you hear what came next. Make sure you're subscribed, because we're only halfway down the tunnel. Piled on a sleek dresser, agents found a Gucci bag that looked, at first glance, like just another flex of celebrity wealth. But inside, a twisted pharmacy, cocaine, ketamine, MDMA, Xanax, not scattered or messy, methodically packed, paired with a rolled-up $100 bill, the classic tool for snorting powdered substances. This wasn't casual partying. This was stockpiled excess, ready for use at any moment. But the detail that sent chills down the courtroom spine? Eye drops, tested and confirmed to be laced with MDMA. Why dose through the eyes? Why go that far? Prosecutors hinted at a disturbing possibility: involuntary dosing. Slipping substances to unsuspecting guests, making sure no one remembered what happened next. Or worse, making sure no one resisted. And yet, the most chilling finds weren't the drugs themselves. They were what the drugs enabled. Tucked inside the bathroom, away from the flashy designer bags and glittering displays, agents uncovered a small wooden box engraved with one simple word: Puffy. Inside, carefully labeled vials of psilocybin pills, magic mushrooms in capsule form, glittering shards of crystallized MDMA packed like fine jewels. Each substance divided, sorted, curated. This wasn't the chaos of some wild party night gone wrong. This was deliberate, intentional, systematic. The kind of setup where nothing is accidental and every substance has its moment, its purpose, its target. Because here's the truth: you don't build a stash like this by accident. You build it to control the room, to decide who stays, who leaves, and who remembers what. But it wasn't the drugs that chilled the agents the most. It was what they found beside the box, and that hinted at something far darker still. When the agents opened the bathroom closet, they weren't met with towels or toiletries. They were met with 25 full-size bottles of baby oil, 31 bottles of Astroglide. Not travel size, not half-used, but large, unopened, stacked in bulk. And then, 2 small rubber duckies. Let that sit for a second. This wasn't preparation for pleasure. This was preparation for control. The kind that turns a private space into a stage where props aren't for fun, but for domination. It was a visual so unsettling that even the defense team sat frozen, knowing exactly what the jury was thinking without anyone having to say a word. Because when you line up that much lubricant next to children's bath toys, the implication isn't just excess, it's orchestration. A setup meant to overpower, manipulate, and erase consent. And just when the room thought they'd hit the most disturbing moment of the day, agents cracked open a red suitcase nearby. Inside, they found a weapon, one that raised chilling questions about who had been using it and why. Inside that red suitcase, tucked away in the guest house, agents uncovered a .45 caliber handgun, clean, polished, and carefully stored. The magazine removed but placed neatly beside it. The bullets counted. Out of 50 rounds, 41 remained. 9 were missing. As the prosecution called Agent Gannon forward, He didn't just describe the weapon. He carried it around the courtroom, letting each juror see it up close, feel its weight in the air, and grasp the unsettling reality. This wasn't some forgotten collector's item. This was a weapon that had been stored, checked, and very likely used. And here's where the tension snapped. Was this just celebrity-level security? A famous figure protecting himself from threats? Or was it something darker? A piece of a larger, more dangerous puzzle where guns, drugs, and hidden tunnels all converged under one roof. Because behind every loaded weapon, behind every missing bullet, there loomed an even more disturbing layer. The whispers of chemical manipulation that no one in that courtroom could ignore. The deeper prosecutors dug, the clearer the pattern became. This wasn't just about parties gone wild or celebrities indulging in excess. This was about control, pure and calculated. Lawsuits like Little Rod Jones had already alleged that Diddy laced drinks at private events, cocktails spiked with drugs strong enough to knock people out cold, leaving them disoriented, blacked out, or worse. And now, inside his home, investigators had physical proof to back it up. MDMA-laced eye drops, a delivery method so extreme, it raised the horrifying possibility of involuntary dosing. Mix that with the cocaine, ketamine, Xanax, and crystallized MDMA found throughout the tunnels, and the message was unmistakable. This wasn't drug use. This was chemical domination. But as dark as the evidence was, the most explosive revelation of all wasn't found in the tunnels. It wasn't hidden in a closet or tucked into a suitcase. It was lurking somewhere far bigger, in the political shadows that surrounded the entire case. Here's where the courtroom shifted from scandal to something far more chilling. Because woven through the background of this entire case was a name familiar to anyone who studied the dark underbelly of celebrity and political power. Whitney Webb, the investigative journalist who has spent years mapping out the ties between global elites, blackmail operations, and government-backed cover-ups. Webb's research didn't just point to Epstein or Hollywood figures. It stretched across industries, linking the music world, the entertainment elite, and yes, even Diddy, into networks of power, secrecy, and silent control. And here's the timeline twist. The federal investigation into Diddy kicked off immediately after Cassie filed her lawsuit. Like the feds had been circling, waiting for one public spark to move in. Which raises the unsettling question. Is Diddy simply the fall guy, the celebrity sacrifice in a system that's protected him and others for years? Or is this moment, this trial, the first real crack in a power shield that's long been untouchable? Because when you step back and look at everything, the tunnels, the weapons, the drugs, the hidden devices, what if they weren't just hiding physical evidence? What if they were hiding decades of secrets that, if exposed, could bring down an entire empire? Click the video showing on your screen right now to uncover what Cassie exposes about Diddy's tunnels. The secrets even the FBI didn't see coming. And don't forget to subscribe, because trust me, the next courtroom shock, it's just around the corner. And you won't want to miss a second of it.